What's up, you guys? It's Jodabi here with another video for you today, and we are going to be covering one of the first major events for Grand Archive here in Canada, hosted by Red Riot Games. If you guys are unfamiliar, Grand Archive is a new TCG launched just this year, actually within the first last 3 months or so, and it has taken Canada by storm, pretty much. It's been a really good game to play. I've personally been really enjoying it. It's like non-stop deck building for me and really trying to maximize and make my champion as powerful as possible, all while fitting into a playstyle that I really love and enjoy. So anime style, RPG style, very fun. Equip your character, add some allies, and duke it out and try to win. So Red Riot Games actually hosted a 1K tournament which had 28 people show up, and this is a very new game, you guys, so don't be surprised by the turnout. We actually have a huge turnout at Red Riot Games again, coming towards the first regional tournament, so that's very, very exciting. But we're gonna be diving right into the tournament analysis. What are the top 6 decks? What are the top 4 decks? What are the top 3 decks leading up to the champion deck? Overall, we're going to go through the meta as well, what kind of decks that we saw, and we'll dive right into it. But first, a message from our, pretty much the host. Just wants to say thanks to everyone who came out to this event. It means a lot to see players from all over Toronto coming together for an amazing event at the beginning of the game's life cycle. So very, very new game once again, you guys. While we had a few hiccups working towards growing a strong community and an event stronger tournament structure. With that said, we have your tournament deck list and graphs showing what decks represented at this event. So I just want to say huge shout out to Red Riot Games and everybody that worked hard to kind of bring out this data that people like me, content creators like me, are able to analyze and kind of go over with everybody in short form. So next is pretty much the element breakdown. So in Grand Archive, for those once again unfamiliar, you start off as a level 0 champion, which is pretty much just a wisp, like an element, and then you materialize and grow into a very powerful character and champion. So there were 14 decks composed of fire, 10 composed of wind, and 4 with water. I was a little surprised at the low turnout of water. I was actually expecting a reverse of that, to see more water versus wind, but both fire and wind are generally, in my opinion, a little bit easier to kind of pilot because it's more aggro and tempo. So aggression, lots of draw power in fire that you will be seeing through discarding fire element cards, etc. And with wind, you have a lot of very powerful allies that can kind of defend for you, attack for you, and in addition to that, there's some control spells in wind that you can use to turn the tide of battle, so to speak. Water, in the other hand, is basically recovery, control, all while trying to deal damage and freeze, stun, slow down your opponents from winning the game up until you get to your win condition. So I kind of get why water is the least represented, because fire, I love fire. I'm playing around with the element right now and it seems really, really good. But in the next sets, we will be getting more support for these elements, so I can see the tide changing towards water eventually, pun intended. So of the champions that we saw, we had 14 Lorraine characters represented, 7 Rai, 4 Xander, and 3 Sylvie. I'm not surprised by this at all. Lorraine and Rai seem to be the top contenders in the meta, with Lorraine just launching out lots of damage once she gets to her level 3 with the Crux element, and in combination with a lot of the attack cards and action cards that you can pair with Lorraine. So draw power plays a very big role in Lorraine's success, and I can see her being strong in both fire and wind, which is why it makes sense that those elements were most represented. In addition to that, Rai has incredible OTK potential through being able to control your hand, manage your resources, and build up to that winning turn. That said, it is a little bit on the harder side to pilot, and if you are pretty much out-allied on the board state, you could get run over fairly quickly, assuming you are unable to see your pieces in time. But Rai still very, very powerful deck. Do not count that out. And we've got 4 Xander, which is the assassin class. So sorry, I wanted to say Lorraine is the warrior, Rai is the sorcerer or wizard or mage, and Xander is the assassin. And I personally am a Xander pilot. I do love the deck a lot. I enjoy playing it very much. And everyone's been dabbling different ways to play Xander, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a water Xander taken to the tournament. The control is very, very good because once you get to your Luxem cards or the element of your level 3 champion, which is Xander, you can really trigger some crazy combos. But the control aspect of water does help get there and not lose the game beforehand. That said, fire and wind are also good. I think Xander is the most difficult, or one of the most difficult to kind of pilot and deck build for, but also one of the most versatile and rewarding, which is why I find it very fun. And 10% or 3 decks reflected with Sylvie. Sylvie, I think, is a archetype in progress with the new set release or expansion to set 1 coming soon. I think Sylvie will get much more powerful, and I'm very excited to see what people come up with. The ability to use a ton of allies, creatures, beasts, and being basically a tamer really appeals to a lot of people like my wife and myself. And I like being able to control like animals and whatnot to defeat my opponent and to defend against my opponent. So hopefully Sylvie gets a lot of support soon. So we're gonna dive into the top decks now. I'll just go into the top 3 and 1 honorable mention, but these were all taken from top 8. Once again, shout out to Red Riot Games for providing the info. Congratulations to Nathan for his first place deck here. We've got Lorraine level 3 Spirit Ruler. Not surprised by Lorraine taking it. If it's not due to the sheer representation or number of decks represented, it was gonna be just because Lorraine is a very powerful deck. As for the material deck, you see the natural level 1, 2, 3 Lorraine, the fire element base, and you also have a bunch of regalia weapons because Lorraine really works off the weapons and her arsenal of swords to gain a huge advantage. Her on-enter ability is just so powerful as well. You get to choose a sword regalia and just materialize it, which is pretty nice. I love that. Next, we've got 3 regalia items, which is the GCR or Grand Crusader's Ring, which is pretty much a very good staple, and a Safeguard Amulet, which is another form of defense, or a little bit form of a defense, and Nullifying Lantern, which I think is a sideboard specifically for the Rai matchup because it pretty much saves you a bit of time to win the game. That said, the 60 cards represented here, we've got a ton of allies at 19. This is pretty much in addition to Lorraine's powerful ability to attack and continuously provide damage. You've got these allies that can also boost the speed at which you do that. We've got Hasty Messenger, Dungeon Guide, and we also have some cards here that provide Floating Memory, which allows you to materialize using the cards in Grave when you banish, as long as they have the Floating Memory kind of like mechanic in them. Hasty Messenger obviously provides that speed, that draw and discard, allowing you to see a lot of your pieces very quickly. And it's a very powerful deck. We've got 3 Ghosts of Pendragon here, which is very nice as well. As far as the attacks are concerned, pretty good standard warrior attack, Savage Slash, Flame Sweep, Rending Flames. Flame Sweep, I think, absolutely needed if you're trying to, if you have a matchup that does have a lot of little allies on your opponent's end. It does the cleave mechanic, so it allows you to like hit all of them, which is very nice. Devastating Blow and a 4th Devastating Blow would be the sideboard. 32 actions, which ultimately work towards, once again, getting your pieces. So we've got like Creative Shock, Tempered Steel, and Idle Thoughts. Tempered Steel is another floating memory card that also adds durability to Lorraine's weapons, which makes her costs not only reduced from your memory pool, playing cards to your memory, for example, but you also add more durability on your weapons, allowing Lorraine to continuously attack and continue to press the pressure. Idle Thoughts also allow you to see cards, which is very helpful and sets you up for the future, as well as also has Floating Memory, and Creative Shock is a draw 2 trash 1, which is very nice. Spark Alight is a good finisher that you can probably play here. It's basically 2 damage unpreventable, so there's no way to really counter it. So if you are short of damage to win the game, you've got Spark Alight to pretty much end it here. Lorraine is one of the very good champions out because not only does she synergize with a lot of the cards in this set, but she also starts at, well, her final level 3 form also has 28 health. Which is a pretty big number for a lot of the other champions to try and get through. So mirror matches will probably be difficult, but at the same time, I can totally see the other champions struggling a little bit more unless you are able to establish much quicker than Lorraine does. And Fire Lorraine makes it very difficult to kind of stay ahead, so to speak. Congratulations again to second place Alessandro here with pretty much the Lorraine as well with the fire base. Very good combination of cards here as well. A lot of familiar cards that we're seeing, but at the same time the ratios do vary a little bit. Alessandro also plays a domain which I don't see very often. The domain being Varuk Smoldering Spire, which is actually pretty good. As long as you aren't materializing a card, damage dealt by fire element sources you control can't be prevented. So once this domain is out, you're really trying to figure out what synergizes well with the damage from fire element sources, and you do have quite a bit, like with Rending Flames, Devastating Blow, and even your allies, if I'm not mistaken, also benefit from this. So if you're able to establish very quickly, you can kind of drop Varuk here, not need to materialize anymore, and continuously press the attack with a lot of your fire element cards, which is a very, very neat combo. I do like that a lot. And then when you're ready to go into your Lorraine for the full combo, you can pretty much just materialize what you need and get rid of Varuk and you're totally fine. For our third place is the Rai Stormseer, so level 3. Lots and lots of actions because Rai, once again, spell slinging mage. We love that. Fire base, because fire right now is really quick. You get to see your cards so much quicker, discard cards and all that stuff. And the discarding really helps with Rai as well. To kind of facilitate through what you need to get rid of in order to draw more cards, etc., etc. We've got the Grand Crusader's Ring. Once again, that's very staple. Tome of Sacred Lightning is one of the main things that make this deck very, very quick, but once again, that is also a staple. Nullifying Lantern might be for the mirror and for other archetypes as well. And yeah, just looking like an overall very, very good deck. We've got 4 dungeon guides, only 7 allies, which is very interesting. But once again, you're really playing for that combo and dealing incremental damage over time because you get to have a lot of class-specific bonuses. Like for Creative Shock, it's a draw 2, discard 1, but the class bonus is deal 2 damage. So Rai definitely takes that advantage over the other decks that would be a fire base. You've got Fireball as well, Focused Flames, all of these, Arcane Blast, and ultimately all these lead to increasing your level and working towards high efficiency to play tons of damage cards, so to speak, at low costs, which I do really like. So congratulations to Daniel there. Yeah, Rai is a force to be reckoned with for sure. And last but not least, I just wanted to do an honorable mention. Kermit is the only Xander in top 8. I think there were like 2 Rais. Xander and everyone else was pretty much Lorraine, which is understandable because it is a new game. It's only been out for like, once again, 2 to 3 months. But this is awesome because I have been trying to work out how to run Luxem Xander for a while, and I think Kermit did a really good job with this build. Once again, it's a fire base because Assassin really needs a little bit of setup as well, so you're drawing, trashing, etc., trying to get that advantage going. And the 3 levels of Xander is out there as well. Assassin's Ripper is a very good card. Like with the prep counter and all that, you deal extra damage, which is very nice, so that's a Regalia weapon right there. Poison Dagger is a pivotal card. I think every Xander should run Poison Dagger some shape or form, because when you banish this card, you deal 1 damage to a unit, and that unit will take an extra damage for every damage they take this turn from all sources, which is very nice. Like, basically all of your allies become like a +1 as long as Poison Dagger is there, and that could really help out with the mathematics of finishing the game through the use of cards like Lightweaver's Assault and Gleaming Cut and Rending Flames. I'm surprised that there's only 2 Rending Flames here, but I think I understand because there's not a lot of fire element actually there's a good amount of fire element cards here, so maybe a 3rd Rending Flame or a sideboard 3rd Rending Flame is what I would probably add on here, because I do like the double damage that you get from that card. That said, it is preventable damage, so I think that's where Varuk plays a really good role, that domain. But once again, you got to see that domain, so it becomes a little bit of an issue. So this is a very good, like, well-built deck that's specifically designed to close the game out, I think, with Luxem versus your fire element, which is why I understand the 2 Rending Flames. Gleaming Cut is very good too, deals some damage and gets you to draw 2 cards if you banish the card, which is nice. So yeah, I love this deck too. I'm gonna be testing a variant of this. I think I really need to learn a little bit more on how to manipulate my hand and get the Luxem, take full advantage of the Luxem cards, because they're really powerful. It's just, I probably just need a lesson in it. So Kermit, if you want to teach me, let me know. But that said, you guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little analysis that I made. And if you look forward to more, let me know in the comment section below. Give the video a like, and hopefully I can work with Red Riot Games and a bunch of other tournament organizers to create more analysis videos, because I think that's something that the community of Grand Archive can benefit from. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.